Hey guys, and welcome. If you don't know, I'm TheMister, and today I want to try something a little different. I was watching a video recently that offered a criticism of the theory of evolution, and they focused on something called the Cambrian Explosion. Now, I don't pretend to be an expert on evolutionary biology, but I'm always up for an interesting conversation. Problem is, they threw out a couple of things while making their argument that were kind of problematic, and I thought it might be instructive if we took a look at them. Since when do we study biology in geological terms? Isn't that kind of like saying the Patriots had a low-scoring game compared to the Celtics? Well, Bob, we had a record number of collisions today on the 104, but it was a small number compared to NASCAR. Okay, wait, what? Since when is there no scientific explanation for anything? If science comes up with a question, somebody has a theory about it somewhere. General relativity, special relativity, quantum mechanics, string theory, dark matter, the Higgs boson. Science comes up with a theory to explain anything that they can't explain until they have enough information to explain it. Even if they're still in the process of conducting the experiments that will prove or disprove their theory, there's still a theory. And there's usually competing theories to answer the same question that are in competition with each other, racing to be the first one to answer the question. Pretending that a question that hasn't been answered can't be answered is just dishonest. All of this got me wondering just how valid is the argument to begin with. Okay, a little background. The Cambrian Explosion occurred about 540 million years ago, and it marks the emergence of a wide variety of animal species on the planet. It took anywhere from 10 to 20 million years. Now, in the video, they talked about it taking only 10 million years. That's another red flag. It's a sure sign of a weak argument when you attack your opponent's low-end estimate. If you have the facts, then you attack their best case, not their worst case. But let's try to get a little perspective on what 10 million years means in context. The entire scope of human history is only about 6,000 years. Homo sapiens, us, have only been around for about 80,000 years. In those terms, the entire span of human existence could have occurred 200 times during the Cambrian Explosion. In 80,000 years of human existence, we've not only evolved into distinctive races in response to environmental pressure, we've also grown shorter, our bones are lighter, and believe it or not, our brains are actually smaller. Environmental conditions have caused humans to change unquestionably in our geologically infinitesimal period of time on the planet. The idea of human adaptation is unquestionable. We have actual observable data that proves it. We simply have no frame of reference for how millions of years could cause an animal species to change and adapt over time. The best we can do is use our reason, take an educated guess, and use the scientific method to test a variety of theories. The geological reference is just disingenuous on its face. The idea that all of these animal species came out of nowhere all at once just doesn't hold up when you put everything into context. If we're looking at biological organisms, what's an honest way to measure change over time? Let's take a quick look at how many generations the Cambrian Explosion was. If we measure generations from offspring to offspring, then we're looking at sexual maturity and trying to estimate reproductive rates. Now that's going to vary across species, obviously, but I settled on about 5 years just to make the math easier. If the Cambrian Explosion took between 10 and 20 million years, that's anywhere from 2 to 4 million generations for small game and simple organisms. If the generation gap is closer to bacteria than horses, then it could be closer to 10 million generations or more. According to a quote that's been attributed to Richard Dawkins, in 10 million generations, a mouse could evolve into an elephant. By the way, the generation gap for mice is about 14 days. That means the Cambrian Explosion was between 40 and 80 million generations of mice. Suddenly, the Cambrian Explosion looks a lot less miraculous and unexplainable. With that in mind, let's take a look at the next problematic argument. The idea that there's no scientific explanation for the Cambrian explosion was busted in about 30 seconds on Google. An increase in atmospheric oxygen levels from 0.1% to 2%, that's a pretty dramatic increase. The formation of an ozone layer is also a pretty significant event. One article in particular posits that a massive volcanic eruption dramatically increased the level of calcium in the ocean. Isn't that what the shells and exoskeletons of sea creatures are made out of? It seems like anything that was able to develop a hard outer shell would have a significant advantage surviving in the primordial ocean. Oh yeah, there was one theory that talked about snowball Earth, which I'm assuming is just a fancy name for the Ice Age. Guess global warming is really nothing new, but this is a couple million years before the invention of the internal combustion engine. Look, I've already admitted I'm not an expert on any of this stuff. I'd never even heard of the Cambrian explosion until I became aware of this argument. But I am the mister. I'm pretty good at asymmetrical problem solving and unpacking arguments. I was a speech and debate coach. I was a mock trial coach. I have spent 15 years training kids to think critically and to develop their capacity for reason. So it's not like I don't have a certain skill set that does apply. The problem is too many people don't have those skills. If we're going to have any hope of fixing the problems that we face as a country, we all need to be able to see past these lazy and deeply flawed arguments. We need more rational adults that are capable of having reasoned conversations and fewer hysterical children just screaming at each other over social media. We need to be able to see through corrupt politicians and activists who both prey on ignorance and emotion to drive an agenda that most people would reject if they could see past the rhetoric and understand the long-term consequences. Maybe I'm missing something. Maybe there's something here that I really don't understand. But that's the point. The conversation is what matters, not who's right or who's wrong. We all need to stop trying so hard to be right and try harder to be honest. Well, hopefully you found this interesting and maybe even learned something. As always, if you have any questions, comments, issues, observations, threats, or warnings, just drop in the comments, and next time I might do a video just for you. Thanks for watching. I'm the Mister, and I'm just trying to help. The best we can do is use our reason, take an educated